Oh, welcome folks once again. Didn't see you at first. Please come right on in and have a seat. It's been a while since we've talked. I've been a little busy. Not here, not at school. There hasn't been much of a school lately, not in the form of attendance. And the reason for that is best explained in those two prayer episodes that I did explaining tobacco culture. It's tobacco season right now. It's almost not ever tobacco season, it seems. This time of year, March and early February, depending upon the weather, things have to be done on the farm, and if you are in a tobacco area, your children are helping out. There's very few students these days. But that's all right. You have to make a go of the farm, because if you don't make a go of the farm, you don't eat. Now, I've been busy, not with schooling, but with other things too. For instance, if you've been around the channel for a while, you know I've been trying to get a new hat. Nothing wrong with the old hat, just I wanted a new hat. And getting a new hat's kind of problematic because I don't have my own transportation. I don't have my own horse. I don't have my own carriage. I'm just a poor teacher. But Abner Ray, Mr. Ray, whose children I teach, Peyton and William, they were going into Rocky Mount. They've gone to Rocky Mount before, and I've gone with them before to pick up supplies. I asked if I could go along and maybe get a new hat. While we were there, I thought, I'll stop in at the post office and say hello to Mrs. Greer. She's the postmistress in Rocky Mount. Yes, we have a postmistress. Ann Greer, the widow Greer, her husband, Stephen Thomas Greer, was the postmaster, but he died 2 years ago, so she took over. I asked her, do you have any letters for me? She says, yes, I have one. A little bit of a surprise. I didn't expect any. And as it turned out, it was from my Uncle Charles. And it came all the way from California. He took off for the gold fields not that long ago, and he sent me a letter. I'll have to respond, of course. In his letter, he said he's on the verge of a very big strike, and he's going to make lots and lots and lots of money, which I hope he does. But that brings up an interesting point, the mails. How do the mails work at this time? How do you get mail from where you are to where you are not? Well, once I get some paper, and I'm a teacher, I have plenty of paper, as long as the money runs out, doesn't run out, and I can write a letter and send it to him, taking it back to Mrs. Greer at the post office. And by the way, if you've been around for a while, you know from past episodes, these names that I throw out, they're not made up. They are the real people who are living at the time. The Rays, the Greers, all of them. All of my students, which I've read off lists before. So how do I get a letter to my Uncle Charlie King out in California? Well, if he wasn't so far away, it wouldn't be much of a problem. Here are the rates for the letters that get mailed. If it's under 1/2 ounce, not to exceed 1/2 ounce technically, and it goes no more than 300 miles, it's 5 cents. If it goes over 300 miles, it is 10 cents. If it is more than 1/2 ounce, the price just keeps going up. But Uncle Charlie, he's out in California. Way far, far more distant than 300 miles. So the regulation was changed once that formerly Mexican territory became American territory. The post office changed its rules. And if it's going from here to there, the rate is going to be 40 cents. And of course, if it's going from there to here, it's also 40 cents. How does this happen? What's the mechanism? First, you get a piece of paper and you do the writing. In order to save on number of pages and save on weight, and some of you may have seen letters like this before, you write left to right, left to right, left to right, and then up and down, up and down, up and down, sometimes diagonal. I've seen those. You then do without an envelope because it saves on weight, and an envelope is going to be an additional expense. Then what happens? Well, you can take it to the post office, or if somebody is going to where you want the post to go to, you just simply ask for a favor and they drop it off and you give them something for their trouble. But I don't know of anybody who's gone to California. So I'm going to take it to the post office in Rocky Mount, and I have two choices. I can either buy a stamp. Stamps are new. They've been around not long, only since 1848. They are voluntary. You do not have to use a stamp. If you don't use a stamp, the postmaster, postmistress in our case, will just get an ink stamp and put down postage due and then how much it is. And it's going to be 40 cents. The letter then goes to New York City, which is where the steamship company is that has a contract with the government to deliver mail. It then goes from New York City to Charleston, more mail is picked up, goes from there either to Havana, where more mail is picked up, and then New Orleans, where more mail is picked up, or New Orleans first and then Havana. But whichever one comes, what next happens is the mail steamship goes to Chagres in Panama. Panama is, I suppose, a province of Colombia. It then gets loaded onto either pack animals or a canoe and then hauled across the Isthmus of Panama to the Pacific coast, where it's put on board another contracted steamship, where it's taken to San Francisco. And it's taken off of there and put on a smaller steamboat that can actually make it up the Sacramento River. The steamship will continue on once this business is done up to Astoria in Oregon. And then the whole process repeats. Now, once it's in San Francisco, somebody who wants to pick up their mail in San Francisco can certainly do so. My uncle is in some place called Hangtown, El Dorado County, I think that is. And it's going to be a ways to get there, and more time is spent away from the diggings, where he's digging up his gold dust, so he says. So he can take advantage of some folks who live in the mining area, and what they do is they offer a service. It helps the miners because they get to stay and dig. They'll say, I'm going to, in this case, Coloma. Closest mail to where he is in Coloma. And you may remember from a previous episode, Coloma is where gold was first discovered in California in 1848 by James Marshall, kicking off the whole California gold rush. I'm going to Coloma. Does anybody have some letters they want me to mail? If there are, he takes them and he mails them for the miners. And of course, for a pinch or two, whatever he charges. If there's any mail to come back, he picks it up. And if any of it is postage due, he has to pay the postage. And then he gives it to the miner, who then pays the postage and maybe a little bit more. And then if he sends something to me, he sends it just the reverse, which is what he did. So I'm looking at the letter, still in the post office. I read it later, and I'm contemplating the price. It said postage due 80 cents. So his letter to me was not the 40-cent rate. It was just a little bit, and that's all it has to be. It's just a little bit over 1/2 ounce. It's now 80 cents. So if I want the letter, I have to pay 80 cents. Except the letter had been sitting around for so long in the post office, it was an advertised letter at this point. An advertised letter is one where it's been sitting around the post office for a while, and the postmaster or postmistress says, I'm going to take these letters, run them in the ad in the paper at 2 cents each, to let people know the following people have letters to be called for at the post office. So now this 80-cent letter is 82 cents. Well, if I want the letter, I pay 82 cents. And so I dug out 82 cents and gave Mrs. Greer the money. She gave me the letter, and then I read it on the way back to Kemp's Ford. I did not stop by and get a new hat, because by the time I paid for the letter, there wasn't enough money for a new hat. But as I said earlier, the hat, it's not a bad hat. I like the hat. It's just, I'd like a new hat. It's showing its age. It's showing wear and tear like I do, and age like I don't. But I'll get it next time, whatever next time is. But next time will be, I don't know when, but I hope to see everybody there. Those of you who have been here before, those of you who are new here, and if you're brand new and you want to know exactly what this is all about, you might want to check a few episodes back, because there's a backstory to all this, of course. But in the meantime, until our paths cross again, I have the honor to remain your most respectful and obedient servant, Dave Diggs. Coming to you, as always, from a long time ago. Thanks for stopping by. Do take care of yourselves. We'll see you next time.